Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
And welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio, everyone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me be the first to welcome you to tonight's riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. Boy, have we got a whopper for you tonight. Back to you, Big Donna.
Well, thanks, Don. So, Elizabeth Warren takes a DNA test.
What happened in the DNA test, Donna?
That she's Native American.
That is really cheesy music.
It is really cheesy.
That's like the original Atlanta Braves cheesy organ at the baseball game.
To me, this is as cheesy as Elizabeth Warren claiming that she is
cheesy.
Pocahontas, as Donald Trump calls her. I call her Pocahontas. That's seriously cheesy.
Yeah, but we've got a full recording studio here.
Yes.
We need to have something that's better produced. And I'm thinking maybe this.
Yeah. This shows how regal the Native American culture is, as opposed to Elizabeth Warren. Somehow the mental picture of the styrofoam tomahawk chop still takes over in my brain, though, given that we are in Atlanta. All right, so
I wonder
Elizabeth
what her Indian
Warren,
name is.
Pocahontas.
I mean,
that's what I call her. F-A-U-X, Ahonis. She's actually demanding, because I think it goes back like 16 generations. She's actually demanding that Donald Trump pay the $1 million bet that he said she's not Native American.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Liberal Party. That is the Progressive Democrats.
And you wonder why they can't balance a checkbook.
Let me stop this immediately.
Well, I have high cheekbones too, you know.
Wait a minute. On a very serious note, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
If you don't go out and vote in November, people like that will gain power. And that is scary, scary, scary.
Absolutely scary. And I already voted. Yesterday was the first day of early voting, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let me finish up with Pocahontas here. She could have as much as 1/64th in her. But it's probably more like 1,024th or 0.097%.
Is that like even a chromosome?
European Americans.
Not a chromosome. Would that be like a, I don't know, an atom or a molecule? She's got a molecule.
European Americans have an average of 0.18%. She's 0.097% Native American blood. Warren said she, quote unquote, well, let's say it just goes back 6 to 10 generations at least. But here's the big thing.
I couldn't even go back that far when I was trying to figure out genealogy.
But here's the thing. The Stanford, which is all you need to know, researcher used Colombian, Peruvian, and Mexican strains. That was what was really checked. They really didn't check Native American because they're using the, quote, land bridge some 12,000 years ago, a.k.a. the Bering Strait. The test was taken secretly, and she really misrepresented the results, but she wants Donald Trump's $1 million that he bet. He said, I want to do the test. He said, I want to do the test, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I want to do the test, and we'll see how Native American she really is.
Pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's show. We were kidding around about Pocahontas, and that's a lot of fun until you realize that this is absolutely very serious. What happens in November is going to seriously impact all of you, our beloved listeners and us our lives.
The Democrat Party is devoid of ideas. All they can do is attack. And I've come up with a new slogan. America prefers jobs, not mobs. Because
wait a minute, we're not allowed to say mobs, Donna.
Well, that's it. Google is
we
trying
can't
to
say
mob. You can't say mobs. But that's what they are. Look at what's going on in Portland, Oregon.
That's a disgrace.
Look at what happened in the New York Republican headquarters there. It got vandalized.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are sitting there going, well, you guys, Charlottesville. Well, that was Antifa was there too as well. But let's talk about Steve Scalise, where you have a gunman who actually walked up and said, are these Republicans? When someone said yes, he opened fire on them. Hello?
Here's what y'all have to realize. And I know you know this. So we need you to help get this message to anybody that you know that may not be as politically astute as our beloved listeners. Here's the thing. The Democrat Party is seriously mobilized. They are unhinged and they are mobilized. And that makes things very dangerous if you expect a victory in November. There's only one way that we can stop this, and that is to outvote them in November. Now, Donna did early voting yesterday. We may be unavailable here in town to vote on Election Day, so I may very well do the same thing. I don't want to risk it. But it's a serious ball game that we're playing right now, ladies and gentlemen. And if we don't outvote them, you have, I can't even imagine.
The thing that gets me, this is low-hanging fruit, though. We have the lowest unemployment rate across the board. Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, in decades. Some, for blacks and Hispanics, the lowest unemployment rate in history. You've got the Dow, which is up 102 times new tops, I should say, since Election Day, 85 new highs since the inauguration, and over $9.2 trillion in wealth created in the stock market. And then you have people that say, well, that's only because all the rich have the jobs. Well, if you got a 401k or you got any kind of IRA or any kind of retirement at all, if the stock market is up, your money is going up too. And that's the only way you can really make a good chunk of money. And then you've got this idiot, Eric Holder, saying they go low, we kick them. That's what the new Democrat Party is all about. We never saw this before Barack Hussein Obama was elected, in my opinion, and almost immediately
no, we never
at
saw
that
this
point,
kind of behavior.
You saw
ever.
The Cambridge police acted stupidly, and from there on, it was downhill. I mean, look at Ferguson. Look at what's going on. So the whole idea of what is basically devoid of any kind of platform, really, except we hate Trump, is actually getting so drummed up by the mainstream media. People are going to go vote for this just because it's a cult of personality, which is scary.
It's
Trump
very scary.
is performing.
And what's scary about it, Donna, is that they are seriously mobilized.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are unhinged and they are rabid. I can't identify. I cannot find any common ground with these individuals. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you think what's been going on for the past 2 years is appalling, wait until they gain control. It will become unlike anything that you can imagine. And I want to play a sound clip from Dan Bongino. He was again filling in for Mark Levin on Monday night. On the way home from work, I was listening to Levin's show, and again, Donna and I are huge admirers of both Mark Levin and Dan Bongino. And quite frankly, think he ought to have his own show on Fox, but we'll see if that ever happens. At any rate, he took a liberal caller, and we want to play this. It's about a 3-minute phone call, and we want you to hear the entire thing so that you can find out what you're up against. This is the mentality of the left-wing voter.
Kathy from New York City, New York. How are you tonight? You're on with Dan Bongino.
Great. I want to say, sir, that the rich in this country should pay 100% of the taxes because the rich have 100% of the representation. And the American colonists fought the Revolutionary War to end taxation without representation, which is what we have right now in 2018.
Okay.
Taxation with no representation.
You do.
And every
So,
single American
Kathy, are
knows
you wealthy? Hold on,
only the
Kathy.
rich have
Kathy.
any representation in this government.
Okay. Kathy, are you rich?
Hell no.
You're not. So you don't have a congressional representative? Kathy, let me ask you a question. What congressional district do you reside in?
My congressional
What number?
representative,
What's the district?
who she cares about is
What's
Carlos
the number? What
Brother.
district do you reside in?
I do believe it's Charles Koch.
Okay. Kathy, you don't even, let me get this straight. You want the rich to pay 100% of the taxes. You're making the claim that you have no representation. You simultaneously do not even know the number of the congressional district you live in, and you're expecting us to take you
Yes,
seriously. Is
sir.
that where we are with this?
I know my district.
Yeah,
I
tell you
know
what, I'll give you a
everything.
second. Kathy, well, I rarely do this on the air because I'm up against a break here, but I'll give you a second to Google it. Tell us who your representative is and what the district is. Go ahead, do your thing. Maybe we'll play the Jeopardy sound.
Okay, sir.
You don't know, do you? You have no idea.
Are you kidding me? You think I don't know who doesn't
Who is it?
represent me in Washington?
Who is
I know
it?
exactly who doesn't represent
Who?
me in Washington.
Kathy,
Or anyone
who is
else.
your representative? Simple question. What's the congressional district number you live in?
You're
Thank you.
pathetic.
I love Rich. You are the greatest producer ever. Kathy, we got the Jeopardy sound there in the background. Have you figured out yet who your congressional representative is? Go. Come on. Liberals are hoping. They're praying you come through in the clutch. You're making a strong argument here that the rich should pay 100% of the taxes. We're asking a basic question.
Oh, you think I don't know, sir?
Who?
You think
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know?
asking. Who is
You
it?
know exactly.
Just make
who
up a
your
name. Here,
representatives
I'll make
are.
a
You don't
for the
know.
liberals out there. Kathy's congressman is Joey Bag of Donuts. Representative Bag of Donuts. Kat, is that it? Is it Bag of
That
Donuts?
is the truth. The rich is the only people they represent.
Kathy, is this a prank call? Are you for real? Seriously, are you a conservative, quietly calling conservative shows to act like a liberal who has lost
what?
it to make people go out and vote for conservatives? Is this I'm serious. Is this a crank call?
When billionaires are paying nothing in taxes,
This is
you
classic.
think we should be
Rich,
paying
this is the
anything?
greatest phone call ever. This is can you please send me the tape of this? This may be I have to put this. This is the greatest phone call.
Billionaires paying nothing.
Okay, Kathy, because I got 20 seconds. One more shot. Come through for the libs all across the country. Who's your congressional representative of what district? Come on, here you go. Let's hear it.
Revolutionary War 2.0.
Oh, my gosh. Mr. Call Screener, greatest call in the history of substitute hosts. We'll be back in a minute.
All right, there you go.
Revolutionary War
Dan
2.0.
Bongino, ladies and gentlemen, and the mental midget Kathy. That's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we're up against. And you can have the people that represent us be people that they vote for, or they can be people that we vote for. It's that damn simple.
She said Charles Koch. Koch is not a congressman. Hello? This is what's so scary, is that the mainstream media, of which I was a major part of for some 30-some-odd years, but back when I started, when I was a young girl, they actually had some semblance of journalism.
Well, they don't
It
anymore.
is so dead now, it's not funny. Our founding fathers, Kathy, were rich, and they gave up everything to go against the crown.
So
Wake
did our
up,
president.
you idiot.
So did our president. Ladies
Exactly.
and gentlemen, if this is not driving this point home, I'm not really sure what will. If you have not voted, if you have not thought about voting, you have to. You see why. All you have to do is read any headline, watch any network news or cable news channel, and you can find out what we're up against. I mean, Chuck Schumer today, or whenever it was, this past weekend, whatever, he had his lens-lice face up against the camera,
He
and
always
all he
does.
was asking for is to impeach 45.
what?
But they can't tell you why.
Yeah. They
It's
can't
just
tell you what
that's their anger level. They have absolutely no message. So the only thing that these people can do is spew forth vile puke. That's all it is.
Well, Kathy from New York is the main reason why I'm down here in Georgia now. That's all I can say. All I can hope is that her congressman or woman is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because chances are it doesn't matter, because that seat's not going to flip, and the people who live there are brain dead. That's all you can. That really is it.
Can you imagine what Kathy, the liberal puke's phone must have looked like after she regurgitated for 3 minutes to Dan Bongino? I mean, it had to be putrid.
It's just unbelievable how ill-informed people are. And you know what? I really think, and I say this all the time, it goes back to the public education system. And we're going to talk to Stan Levy, our host of Black Man Thinkin. And one of the promos that he says, there's 2 words that are the problem: teachers' unions. And that really is it, because you have no common sense if you think like Kathy. I'm sorry. So let's tax
add one more thought
billionaires
to Kathy
100%, you idiot.
Yeah,
and then
before we move on,
become
ladies and
Venezuela.
gentlemen, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and months and months. I can no longer identify as a fellow American citizen with these numbnuts on the left. And that's a perfect example of why.
Yeah.
She has nothing in common with someone like me.
She has nothing in common with being American, quite frankly, because all it is a handout. In fact, I wrote something down, and I think that's very apropos. With socialism, tweets begin like this, quote, "Why can't we provide health care for everyone?" unquote. And it ends with tweets like this from CNN International. "Can rabbit meat save Venezuela from going hungry?" That really is it. Socialism always starts with lofty promises and ends with misery, poverty, and death. There is no other form of government that hasn't. The only thing that raises people out of the doldrums is capitalism, whether you like it or not. And the idiots on the left are tearing down this country that is the strongest capitalist country in the history of mankind. And you know what? When you have competition, things get better. Like 4% GDP. When under Barack Obama kept saying, well, those jobs are going away and they're never coming back. Within 2 years, Donald Trump brought them back. Barack Obama is the only president in history that didn't have at least 2% for 1 year. You think about that. In 40 some odd years, he's the only president that couldn't get a 2% GDP.
He's also the only president or former president that has ever stuck his nose into the administration of a current U.S. president.
He's running the whole
but then you've got
Antifa
Eric
thing
Holder.
right now.
What a disgrace. You brought him up earlier. Yeah. I mean, this is the former AG.
They go low, we kick
granted, wasn't he found in contempt of Congress?
Yeah. He should be disbarred, and he's going to run for president.
And
by the way,
this is what we're going up against, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get extremely serious.
You know what really scares me? There's a report that 51% of immigrants, legal and illegal, get some form of public assistance, be it Medicaid or food stamps. That adds up to about 11.3 billion annually. This displaces American workers. 48% of immigrants who've been here at least 20 plus years also get that much government assistance. So it's essentially an income redistribution program, which is exactly what Kathy wants. No merit system. It's family chain migration. And this is scary. You know what else they found? They found that there's something like 3 to 4 million more voters nationally than are registered. What did Hillary Clinton win by? About 3 million. Just think about that.
The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is the left wing, the progressive, the Democrat Party. First of all, you have to understand that the government and their party, the ideology of the left, is their religion.
Yeah.
It's
That's
their
why they hate religion. They hate organized religion. They hate Christianity. They hate Judaism. They love Islam because it's total control, and that is essentially what the government is doing. I mean, Barack Obama is the only president that has ever weaponized all of the resources of the federal government against anybody they feel is against their wishes, their one world order.
All right, Donna, I need to take a minute here, and I'm going to give you the last couple minutes of this segment before we go to break. But I want to talk to you people about something that's also very, very serious. And that is the situation that our dear friend Kathleen Willey is in. Now, for those of you that have been with your head in the sand for the past year or so, Kathleen Willey was sexually abused by President Bill Clinton just outside the Oval Office in a room that's adjacent to the Oval Office.
It started in the Oval Office.
Her life has been ruined. Her family has been ruined.
Her husband was murdered. And
November 1st, unless something changes, Kathleen Willey, who is 70-plus years old. What did you held your hand up?
It's November 5th.
Okay, November 5th. My apologies. Is going to be evicted from her home just outside of Richmond, Virginia. It's a very modest 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. But this is a woman that cannot get a job. First of all, she's getting up there in her age. But she's been
get a
blackballed
job for 30 years.
She's been blackballed.
Yep.
And she's also been vilified by Hillary Clinton and marginalized by the left. I urge you to go to GoFundMe.com, do a search for Kathleen Willey, and help out any way that you possibly can. Donna and I are doing everything in our power to help our dear friend out. This is a serious matter. It's a serious injustice. There's fraud going on with her mortgage company, and they are going to dump her ass out in her driveway on November 5th if good Americans don't come together and rally to support her.
There's a couple different GoFundMes because people are trying to help, and I do appreciate that. But the one that has a target of like 250 or 260,000 is the one you really want to donate to, and I don't know the exact name, and shame on me, I should have it.
Well,
you go
just
to
look
Kathleen's
for the amount.
Facebook page.
If
exactly.
you find one that's for 17,000 or 5,000 or something like that as the goal, that isn't the one.
No, you want the one
It's
that's
the
up
one over
around
200,000, and it's real serious. Donna, we have got a magnificent show coming up.
We do. Stan Levy, what we just talked about before, host of our show here on the network, Black Man Thinkin, is coming up after the break. Martha Zoller, who is a local talk show host here in Georgia, working on the Brian Kemp campaign. And then we are going to be talking to Diamond and Silk.
Diamond
How
and
cool
Silk are
is
in the
that?
house, ladies and gentlemen. Diamond and Silk.
Absolutely. It's coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest this half hour, as we like to do some cross-promotion from time to time, is a gentleman by the name of Stan Levy.
He's my former classmate.
Yes, he is. But he went on to Georgia Tech, whereas you went on to Tennessee because Stan actually has brains.
I don't even know if I should dignify that with an answer, Donna. Seton Hall, Donna.
Anyhow, Stan and Don did go to high school together. But as I said, Stan went on to Georgia Tech because he is a brainiac. But Stan is also a black man thinking. And that is the name of his show here on our network, heard Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Stan Levy, welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you, guys. Good to be with you. How are you doing?
I noticed you didn't interject when I said Don went on to Tennessee and you went into Georgia Tech.
He was probably just ignoring the stupidity.
It's not
Donna.
stupidity. It shows that Stan has brains.
Okay. All right. And nobody intelligent ever went to the University of Tennessee. Is that what you're saying,
That's
Seton
true.
Hall?
Now, Alan West went there, so I guess I need to take that back.
We were there together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you played football against him, and you didn't even know it in high school because he also went to a similar, in the same area high school, right?
Yeah.
So,
Stan,
you guys
played
go
against
Alan West.
Alan West, didn't you?
What high school did he go to?
He went to Grady, I think.
Well, we played a lot of games at Grady Stadium, but I don't remember if we ever played. I don't know. I don't remember if Northside ever played Grady
Maybe
while I was in there. Yeah, don't recall them.
I think we whooped his ass when we were at Lovett.
But those are two black men
Whooped his
thinking men.
ass.
Stan?
I can say that, right?
Yes,
I can
you
say
can.
that on the air.
Yes, you can.
All right, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, Stan Levy is with us. He is the host of a phenomenal radio show, Black Man Thinkin. Been with us for, what, Stan, 4 or 5 years now?
Uh-huh.
It's been a while.
Until the last few days, everybody would have thought only Kanye West was the only black man thinking in the country. But Stan beat him to it by a number of years.
Stan's been thinking far longer than
This is
Kanye.
true. However, he still lives out in California, though, so maybe there is some questionable things there, Stan. But, you got to go where the jobs are, which, for some reason, California is going down the tubes. And you're right there in the bastion of liberalness, Los Angeles area. How's that doing for you?
Well, for me, it's doing okay, but you are correct. Los Angeles area and California in general is really suffering. The Democrats and the progressives, they're basically now, in open warfare against the federal government simply because Trump is at the helm. And the only problem is their idea of trying to make things anti-Trump is doing nothing for their citizens. I mean, as you know, California has the highest poverty rate in the country. We have the highest concentration of illegal immigrants in the country. And all of these things, along with other water management issues, et cetera, is making what was a golden state into something that's a little bit more tarnished now.
Here's what really scares me is everybody says as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. And, things have digressed very rapidly, in my opinion. God forbid we keep going down that rabbit hole because then we turn to Venezuela. And I really think Donald Trump is the speed bump along the way. Whether we can do a U-turn or not, I don't know. But that's what's so scary to me.
Well, the scary thing to me is, well, I'll say it this way. One of the things progressives like to do, and the left always likes to do, is they like to have people organized. And the reason they like organization so much is it reduces the number of people they have to control. So trying to make everything about Trump is ignoring the fact that there are more than 60 plus million people who voted for him. They're not talking about them directly, although they are talking about them explicitly. Every attack on Donald Trump is really meaningless. Donald Trump is a guy. I mean, he happens to be doing a very good job as president, but Donald Trump is not the embodiment of anything, except he is actually a representative of the people. And what the left is ignoring, and it's why they keep losing, which is phenomenal to me. I mean, I think since Trump was elected, there have been a dozen special elections, one for Senate and the others for Congress. And the Democrat Party has won 10 of them. I mean, Democrat Party has lost all but 3. They won 3.
I mean, here in Georgia, they had one, what they throw, 30 million at that guy?
Exactly.
And he still lost. See, this is what scares me, though, because like Michael Savage says, liberalism is a mental disorder. Instead of trying to come back to the middle a little bit, which Democrats that had some form of sanity did years ago, JFK would be a conservative Republican by today's standards. That's the party of my parents. That's the Democrat Party I grew up in. Now you don't even recognize it. They're doubling down. See, when Hillary Clinton said a basket of deplorables, I was appalled, quite frankly. And then I'm thinking, well, but she really is so out of touch. She can't be talking about the whole Democrat Party. And boy, was I wrong. They agreed with her. And like you say, that disenfranchises pretty much half the country that votes.
It does. And I think this is just an opinion. Of course, all of it is an opinion. At some point, someone's going to have to stop referring to the left as Americans. I mean, just because they happen to have citizenship, they're not Americans. If you're going to be an American, there are five self-evident truths that you believe, and the left doesn't believe maybe three of them. Maybe. These are people who are not American in their thinking. They just happen to have a piece of paper that declares them citizens primarily by birth.
Exactly.
One world
Stan,
order.
probably for the past, 6 to 8 months, maybe even longer than that, I've been saying something repeatedly on the air, and that is that a liberal, a leftist, somebody that aligns themselves with the current Democrat Party, I have a hard time even recognizing them as identifying them as an American citizen. And I don't mean that. I mean that as in, if I brought you an orange and it actually looked like a baseball mitt, you would go, I have a hard time recognizing that baseball mitt as what it is as an orange. I mean, that's how alien these people look to me. I just can't identify with them any longer as an American, as a fellow American.
And that is where, well, let's kind of get something straight. Despite the fact that the media, which is pretty far left leaning, and their progressive friends in politics would have you believe that we are a divided country. We're not a divided country. They're not really part of it. They're not part of American think. And what they don't want to acknowledge is for the last 9 years, they've been getting their hats handed to them and getting a bone kicked out of their behind every election day. Let's not forget when Barack Obama was first inaugurated, he came in, not only did he have a 70-plus seat advantage in the House and a nearly filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, the Democrats also controlled 28 out of 50 governorships and 60 out of 99 state legislative chambers. By the time he left office, they no longer had majorities in either the House or the Senate. They had also, let's be honest, today you only have 16, count them, 16 Democrat governors in all of the United States. 67 of 99 state legislative chambers are controlled by the Republicans. The country has already rejected the Democrat Party, and it's almost like watching an episode of Dead Man Walking. They're done, and they don't know it. And instead of recognizing that the country has moved on without them, they simply continue to denigrate the country, to try to tell people that they're bad because they don't think like Democrats and progressives. And then they are shocked that they keep losing. With Trump, the only thing that's going on with Trump is you finally have someone in a position of power and authority who simply does what the rest of America thinks, which is we're not bending down to you anymore.
Yeah,
that was the whole message of the Kavanaugh hearings. It's like, we're coming for you. He's bad. He's bad. So, well, all right, we have two things going on here. One, you're lying about Kavanaugh, and is not even close. Why anybody would call Christine Blasey Ford a credible witness, that already tells me you're not American in your thinking. The second thing is, while you had nothing to back up anything that Christine Ford said, you still have Keith Ellison out there with medical information from his accuser, and nobody really wants to talk about that. However, it is it does seem to be taking an effect on the election out there, and it seems to be a result in the polling. But don't be surprised if he wins. I wouldn't be surprised he wins. I'm just glad I don't live in Minnesota, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins.
What's in the water in Minnesota? Seriously, because why? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Liberalism is in the water.
You got a high amount of Muslim immigrants there as well, and they are definitely going to be voting Democrat.
Liberalism is in the water. Progressivism, more to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what it is. Progressives are going to support progressives because their objective is not a united America. Their objective is an America under their control. The only thing that is stopping them is the electorate. The only thing that really can stop them is the electorate. And I'm not necessarily just speaking about at the polls. I am not 100% convinced that the progressives are unwilling to resort to violence in order to get their aim.
I totally agree.
Steve Scalise.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with our dear friend and our fellow radio host, Stan Levy. He's the host of Black Man Thinkin. You can listen to his show Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on whatever network or station you're listening to this show on. Stan and I go way back. He's been here to Double D Ranch, had a lot of fun hanging out with us at the farm a few years back. Stan, we're due another visit from you because we can't bring the farm to you, man. You got to come to us. Let me ask you, Stan, were you offended, or what was your reaction, better, to Don Lemon and his band of idiots when they were chastising and speaking poorly, offensively, at least in my opinion, of Kanye West and his recent meeting with Donald Trump? How did you, as a Black American, feel about that?
It was like watching people in a foreign country. It's clear. I mean, let's remember. I mean, Don Lemon presents himself or claims himself to be a black man, and I'm like, okay, first of all, homosexuality.
He's like high yellow, isn't he?
No, he's just
mocha.
He's
what would you? What's a brother call him? What would you like if you and I were walking down the street and I was another black dude with you, and Don Lemon walks by, like what?
I don't think you can say that on the air.
What's up with the high yellow dude, or what's up with the Cocoa Puff dude, or what? What color
Every time I see Don Lemon, I see a guy who claims to be black who's having sex with a white dude. That's all I see.
I think I
knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to say.
So Herschel Walker even slammed CNN's coverage and attacks on Kanye, calling it despicable and shameful. He tweeted, quote, "Why CNN doesn't take Don Lemon and company off the air?" And then one of the women in that group with Don Lemon was this pundit Tara Setmeyer, and she said, she tweeted back, "Herschel wanted to silence her, quote unquote." And Herschel shot back, "You want to call out anyone with a different opinion than yours using the N-word." And Don Lemon was laughing. "To me, that's bullying and shameful." See if Tara comes back with something else after that one.
Well, guys, we got to be honest about something. CNN has less reach and less influence than the airtime they receive, and it keeps diminishing. In some ways, the best ally we have in media is CNN, because it is intuitively obvious to the casual observer that CNN does not care about the American people. It only cares about a particular perspective, and is amazed that people do not agree with them. And it's fascinating to watch. But at some point, for me, I always keep saying it. You know what? You have to stop thinking of these people as fellow Americans. If you turn off all media and just consider where do people stand regarding things that define or help the country, and you're going to find nobody who is a leftist aligned with any of that. At that point in time, the fact that they have citizenship does not make them part of a divided country. It makes them part of the divide.
I think they'd have more rights if they
Point.
didn't have citizenship. The New York Times added to that list, too. They're going under. In fact, they're laying people off and saying they might go totally digital. But that's what really gets me. It's a mental disorder, as Michael Savage said. These people are going to go out of business because they just are so out of touch. It's the East Coast and the West Coast, and the flyover country in between just doesn't count.
Well, I understand that, but to me, even when you say that, you're basically still including them as part of the American community. They're not. They ideologically are simply not. Calling it basically saying they're the crazy uncle under the porch. Well, the crazy uncle or aunt under the porch is still a member of the family. These people are not a member of the American family. They just happen to be in the house. And at some point in time, until we recognize that, people are going to continue to try to reach out to that and say we need to be diverse and we need to be unified. I'm not trying to unify with somebody who is a better fit in Venezuela.
That's what Don just said. These people aren't American to him. You know, Stan, you have a promo, as they call it in the radio business, for your radio show that runs on our network. And at one point during that promo, you say, what is the problem with the country? 2 words, teachers' unions. And that really is it, because these young kids, sound like my mother, these kids today, they're the ones that are out there with their hippie freak parents, but most of them are kids. Most of them maybe just got the right to vote. Most of them just got out of college, have $300,000 in debt, and rightly so, because they're taking basket weaving, and wonder why they can't get a job. They
wonder. We have, what is it? I believe the American education system was ranked internationally as the worst with respect to educational outcomes of all industrialized companies. And last time I looked, we were behind Vietnam in math education. And I'm like, wait a minute, we were bombing these guys 4 decades ago, bombing them into oblivion, and now we can't. Now they put 2 plus 2 better, together better than we do. 2 plus 2 doesn't necessarily equal 4 now. You know that. That really
exactly is the thing. And I mean, because everybody gets a trophy has fizzled down into facts. So everybody can't be, wrong because they can't fail. And then when they get out of school and they find they can't get a job and they're totally failing, they basically riot. And the only job they can get is a paid protesting job by George Soros.
Yeah, but Stan's got an excellent point here. I mean, 4 decades ago, Vietnam was bombed into Laos.
The Stone Age.
Okay. And you've got people that are walking around using tire treads for shoes, and now they are surpassing us at the educational level.
I'll go one better there.
That's a disgrace to hear.
I'll go one better there. Look at what they have on the internet. Pictures quite available on the internet of showing Hiroshima after the bomb in Japan, and Hiroshima now. And Detroit, Michigan, when we dropped the bomb, and Detroit, Michigan now, where they're selling houses for $1.
It is very simply put, even though it may take a little bit more time, nothing is more damaging to any metropolitan area and any metropolitan community than liberalism and progressivism.
Absolutely.
It can do, given enough time, more damage to any location and any people than a nuclear weapon.
Well, and I'll tell you something else, Stan, with regard to that thought. A nuclear weapon or bombing or a war, people can rebuild from that. Once liberalism has infected a community, it's very difficult to turn it around.
The idea behind it, I mean, with a bomb, you have let's face it, you have a flash, you have an immediate impact, and of course it stops.
But you have people that then want to rebuild.
That's true. They get over the shock and recognize something has to be done differently, and they figure it out and they move forward. The problem with, we've mentioned a couple of times, look to Venezuela. They saw this coming and they voted for it anyway. They see the damage, and Maduro is still in power. It is the most reliable way to destroy a people with any form of self-determination imaginable. It is simply to, as the president said in his speech at the UN, faithfully executed socialism.
Well, exactly.
When has it ever prevailed?
Yeah, but here's
Never.
the thing. If you look at all of the socialist failures, all of the communist failures, the people did at one point get on the side of that failed policy, that failed experiment. And the thing is, what's the concern is here in America, we've got all of these people that are getting on the side of a completely failed experiment. And if we as a country allow this to happen, and I've been talking about this for almost 2 years, Stan, the midterm elections coming up in November are absolutely critical. And the thing is, you've got all of these mental midgets on the left that think that, the reason that it's failed in all of the other previous examples, socialism and for that matter, communism, is that they were doing it wrong. And now all of a sudden, miraculously, the left wing in the United States have figured it out. Everybody else has done it wrong. Everybody's done socialism wrong. But Cortez, what's her name? Zaplane.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
An idiot.
Yeah, she's probably got about a 10 IQ.
But here's the concern, Stan. If we lose the House, if we lose control of the House, and God forbid, or the Senate, then we are on our way to socialism. I don't see it turning back.
Well, the one thing I would say, at some point you got to look at the longer arc of history. Is the United States likely to fall? The answer is yes, as long as people are willing to call it a democracy. Democracies always fall.
Yeah, which is what Obama calls it all the time. He used to scream at the TV when he'd say that.
Doing it. They're doing that on the right.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Bottom line, to basically call progressivism a disease of the Democrat Party is kind of selling it short. The divide in America is not left and right from a party standpoint. It is progressive versus American. There are progressives on the quote-unquote right side of the ideological aisle. One of the most prominent ones is retiring. He happens to be Speaker of the House. But we have to understand that even if progressivism prevails at the polls, Americanism does not die unless they find a way to prevail and then suspend elections. And at that point, the only option, of course, is the same thing that gave us a nation in the first place, which is to go to war.
Yeah. Stan, real quick, we only got about a minute. What do you really think as far as the black community, though? The Democrat plantation is 60, 70 years old at this point. I, for one, am very happy Kanye West is speaking out because I think he is trying to sway some people. Do you think it's working? Do you think the black community in general is waking up? You've got record low black unemployment, in lowest in history. And yet you never hear the media talking about any of the positive stuff that Trump is doing.
First of all, there is no black community. There are collections of people who happen to have high melanin skin content. Black people in America don't act like a community. Bottom line, we are 52% of murder victims in the United States, and more than 92% of those are killed by fellow blacks. That's not a community.
Yeah, it's the police's fault, right? Okay, I'm sorry.
It is the fault of two things. We abandoned God and we embraced liberalism. Those two things did not mark black people even back during the time of slavery. Nobody was rejecting God during slavery. No one was embracing leftist culture, which is anti-family. It was the family and a belief in God that got black people through slavery and allowed them to marshal the conscience of the nation to get rid of Jim Crow. As soon as that happened, almost, so-called black community abandoned both. They abandoned the family, they abandoned God, and now these people are not black. These people just happen to have a paint job.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, unfortunately, the government becomes what everybody worships on the left, and that's what's so scary to me. But again, it starts with teachers' unions, as you say. Stan Levy, Black Man Thinkin. Folks, find his show Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on our network. Stan Levy, thank you so much, as usual, for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Great being with you guys. Take care. We'll talk with you soon.
And we love you. We'll be talking to Martha Zoller coming up next, radio talk show host that she is. And following that, Diamond and Silk. It's all coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glare, yeah. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest this half hour is a lady by the name of Martha Zoller. Martha is a policy advisor. She's an outreach director and surrogate right now for the Kemp for governor race here in Georgia. But Martha had a good 20-year media career, just kind of like me. She also worked on the campaign of Senator David Perdue. And she hosted radio programs in Georgia, was named the Talker's Top 100 radio shows in America many, many times. She's also a regular contributor on cable and broadcast news. And she was a longtime panelist on Fox 5 Atlanta's The Georgia Gang from 2000 to 2010. Yes, she lives here in Georgia as well. She's actually got grandchildren and children. And Martha, this is why we have you on, because we're worried about our children going forward. This election is just so important. Martha Zoller, welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always great to see you, Donna. It was great to meet you again a few weeks ago in Rupesville, Georgia. And, you know, you're right. This election, we always say the elections are important, but they're really important right now. And it's because there is so much misinformation out there that you really have to fight hard to get through the noise and be able to find the issues that you think are important. I'm working for Brian Kemp for Georgia because I've known Brian for more than 20 years. I know the kind of character that he has when nobody's looking, as well as when he implements something. And also, I ran for Congress in 2012 and got to the runoff and lost. And I tell you what, you know the character of a person when they'll return your call after you've lost a race. So
he's
a good man.
Something.
He's a good
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, I want to interject something here between you two fine ladies who have a combined total of almost a half a century in radio and television. I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen, and I've got about 5 years in radio. So I pale in comparison with these two experts and subject matter experts. But Martha, I've got a question for you, or more of a statement that we can turn into a question. I am mortified at the thought of Stacey Abrams being the governor of Georgia. And I know a few things about her that I really haven't seen Kemp attacking her on. Tell me this. Where are the polls, the true polls, because none of us really buy into them? Where's the meter right now on how things are running and the likelihood of Kemp being able to take this election? And
well, I mean,
why
is
is he not going after her like I think he should?
Well, first of all, I would disagree that he's not going after her because we have were very successful in getting her to have to answer to the fact that after negotiating with Republicans on sexual predator laws, that she walked out. I mean, not only did we go after her on that, but we got her to have to respond to it. So we did that. We also have talked, incessantly about her financial issues. So she owes the IRS $50,000, but yet she loaned her own campaign money. We also shined the light on all the shady organizations that she's been a part of, where more than $12.5 million that we know of have been taken into these organizations. She's been paid big six-figure salaries, and we don't know where this money came from. So all of those issues were raised by our campaign. They were actually, I got to tell you, the local newspapers and local news sources have done a very good job on this race. A perfect example is, this whole 53,000 voters being put on hold situation that's been in the news for the last few days. I mean, it's the local papers, the AJC. I mean, even Jay Bookman. Okay, Jay Bookman and the ACLU also had to step out and say, wait a minute, everything Stacey Abrams is saying about this is wrong and inaccurate. And the fact of the matter is, people are not going to be kept from voting. And really, and I'm going to be sarcastic here in case some people don't understand sarcasm, every way you can measure Georgia voting, it is up. Every demographic, every way you can measure it. If Brian Kemp's goal was to suppress voters, he's doing a lousy job at that. Okay, so it's
exactly.
I really haven't looked into it this much, but he is Secretary of State, so some of our listeners that don't know that. The thing is, so obviously he's in charge of the voting. To me, it's probably people who don't know how to fill out forms properly. And I'm sorry.
Well,
go ahead.
Look, the New Georgia Project, which is one of the other areas that Stacey Abrams has been involved in, it's a very left-wing organization. They go out and, quote, register voters. And they will not use the electronic stuff that Brian Kemp and Karen Handel have introduced during their times as Secretary of State because it's easier. You can go online. You've got an app on your phone. If there's a problem with your name, you know it immediately, and you can fix it because it's online, and it works. What the New Georgia Project does, and where all of these applications have come from, are paper applications. And Donna and Don, you know as well as I do, when people are filling out forms and they're doing it by hand, there's misspellings, there's spilling things on it, you poke a hole in the paper. I mean, a million things can happen, and the names don't match up to your driver's license. And that's not Brian Kemp. That was the legislature of Georgia passing that 100% unanimously. The legislature of Georgia passed this to be in compliance with the Real ID law for the federal government that was passed after 9/11, because remember, a few guys got into airplanes and were able to get driver's licenses, without proper ID. So people forget where these things come from, but Brian Kemp is enforcing the law, and he's doing it well, and every single person that is on that list can go and vote, but they got to show their ID before they vote, okay? And the ACLU, of all people, came out this morning to correct the things that Stacey Abrams said related to this because they were inaccurate.
Good.
The ACLU, when you have the ACLU, Jay Bookman on your side, that it's across the board, they're wrong.
All right, Martha, many times in an election cycle like we're in, you've got people that are definitely standing behind a candidate. Obviously, Donna and I are going to vote for Kemp.
Right.
You've also got some people that are either ill-informed, they don't care, or they're truly undecided. Now, we could spend the rest of this interview talking about the great things and all the many reasons to vote for Brian Kemp. But during the 2016 election, when I was going after independents, when I was going after liberals, because that's who I felt I needed to target, I needed to pull them away from a Democrat vote. What are the reasons that an undecided or an independent or even a liberal voter, a Democrat, what are the reasons that they should stay away from a toxic Stacey Abrams?
Well, Georgia's been the top state in the country to do business. We've got a rainy day fund that works. There's nothing that's broken right now. There are things that need to be, fixed. But as far as, the economy, we want to keep that going. But I want to address and kind of tie in what you asked to the last question that I didn't answer about polling. I don't believe that if they're undecided now, they're probably going to vote at all. Polling is a tricky thing right now because between cell phones and home phones and people screening calls and all of that kind of thing, the polling that we're doing in the field every single night is all over the place. I'll tell you that right now. But what we're seeing consistently is that independents and undecideds are moving more in our direction. And we also are seeing that gap widening, especially since Kavanaugh, especially in the aftermath of that. We are seeing a widening of us from Stacey Abrams in our polling every night. And it's matching up pretty well to the independent polling that's being done. Obviously, we do, you poll internally in campaigns for different reasons because you're trying to see where you need to spend your money, right? And that's why you definitely do the polls.
Everybody says that women usually vote Democrat. And I just find that appalling because
smart
to me,
women don't.
Well, to me, this, and I've said this so many times, the Democrat Party is not your mother's and father's Democrat Party. JFK would be a conservative Republican by today's standards. He was pro-life, first of all. And the thing is, you've got Stacey Abrams standing there with Linda Sarsour, probably the backer of the most anti-woman, pro-Sharia law promoter, Linda Sarsour, standing right next to Stacey Abrams. And what really frosts my flakes is that there's nothing in the mainstream media about Sharia law and how anti-woman it is. And it's so ironic that those people will back a Linda Sarsour when she is the most anti-woman, given, who she is.
Well, the Democratic Party is the one waging a war on women. I mean, and let's be clear about that. And bottom line is, when you say most women vote Democrat, most single women do vote Democrat. When you get into married women, you've got a lot of married women that vote Republican, and then you got what I like to call the squishy Republicans, the ones that live in Cobb and Gwinnett and other metro counties, and they vote back and forth. Like, they voted for Clinton in 96, they voted for Bush in 2004, they voted for Obama in 2008, and then they voted for Trump in 2016. So they go back and forth depending on what the issue is. After the Kavanaugh hearings, what you saw is those married women that are usually squishy about the Republican Party go more Republican because they saw the travesty there. Plus, their mothers, in a lot of cases, mothers of boys. And the thing I've heard, and again, it's anecdotal and it's showing up, but it is showing up somewhat in the polls, is that moms are terrified about how their sons are going to be treated. And I'm a mother of 3 boys, and I have 3 grandsons. Okay, so it's one of those things. I'm going to teach my son, and I've taught my sons to be respectful to women. I'm going to teach my grandsons to be respectful of women. But you've got to be careful in this sort of post-Kavanaugh world of how things are going. But I do think that all in all, the polling is going in our favor. Certainly, Brian Kemp, is fighting hard. But again, I will point you to, and I hear from Don, how hard he wants to see people fight. But if you look at the closing argument ads that are coming out now, Stacey's are all attack, and ours are talking about what Brian's going to do in Georgia. Not that there aren't attacks being out there, but generally, as you know, if people are seeing in the polling that they're going in the right direction, they're more positive at the end. If they see they're going in the wrong direction, they're more negative.
Well, and I agree with you on that. I'm not suggesting that Kemp become completely offensive and attack. I'm just saying that the voters of Georgia need to be educated, and maybe that's our job to do and not necessarily Kemp's job to do, at the devastation that will take place in our state if Stacey Abrams is elected. Now, the gentleman that owns the company that I run, Star Coaches, is Danny Hamilton, and I know you know Danny. He's had the Trump bus at a lot of Kemp things. I think he's got one going on this weekend, if I'm not this past weekend. Now, he came into my office on Friday, and he goes, "Man, I saw 3 Stacey Abrams signs in yards in Buckhead. What are these people thinking?"
Yep.
I said, "You got liberals living in Buckhead, Danny. That's what they're thinking."
You go steal the signs like the liberals do.
You drive down West Paces.
Yeah, I mean, you got them up and down, and they're in the high rises down there. They're all over the place.
You didn't see Hillary signs 2 years ago.
Well,
you really didn't.
That's true, but we also didn't canvass Buckhead with the Trump bus.
True.
You know, we were all over the state of Georgia, but I can tell you this, Martha. Danny is telling me that he is seeing huge support for Kemp out there. Huge support.
Yeah, and what we see, too, is that if you drive down, like our office, our headquarters is on Paces Ferry in Atlanta, but we have 14 offices around the state, too. But the one, what I've noticed is there are a lot of Kemp signs, too, as you get away from Buckhead. But a sign is not a vote. That's why people have got to get out and vote, and it's really important to do that. But I have heard some of the folks in Buckhead have said they're afraid to put their Kemp signs out. And that is really just terrible. I mean, if I could tell you some stories about some things that have been done to our headquarters, and it's in Buckhead over the last 2 or 3 months, it would really disgust you.
Well,
and
I'd like for you to tell us some of those, because I'd like to be disgusted. Because
well, I mean, they painted.
Martha, the voters need to be able to wrap their head around a liberalism.
It's a microcosm of what's been happening in D.C. The New York City Republican campaign headquarters just got totally vandalized. But what happened here, Martha?
Well, we now have cameras up, and we've got state troopers, and so it's slowed down. But right after the runoff, somebody painted KKK Kemp across the front of the window, and then we had a bus out, our Kemp bus out there, and a woman defecated next to the bus in order to, try to send a message to us. Now, the thing that she didn't know at the time is we had already put the cameras up. So this woman got caught, and she got caught on the camera. But there are a lot of people that will do crazy things, and I am worried. I'm a little worried. I worked for Senator Perdue for 4 years. He got accosted at the airport. I mean, this is just, we've got to understand that we're going to have different viewpoints, but the goal of Stacey Abrams' campaign, the goal of the Democratic Party and the goal of the Democrats back during the Trump time, they still want to make that election illegitimate. That's their new modus operandi. They're going to say any election where a Republican wins is illegitimate, and any election where a Democrat wins is the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. And they're going to keep fighting it. They're going to fight it in court, and they're not going to accept results. And we're going to have to, it's not just like it used to be where you win and then you just go and govern. You got to win, and then you got to keep fighting.
Well, that's what Trump said. He said he couldn't believe after the election, usually the country comes together. But I got to tell you, I was at Fox in 2000 as well, and I was one of the first people on the air when Gore v. Bush started happening. And it was unbelievable. Yep. They just didn't want to accept it. And the only thing that really stopped all that in its tracks was 9/11. Otherwise, they'd still be... they still think he's illegitimate, and they're doing the same thing with Trump. What really scares me also, though, Martha Zoller, is that you've got Stacey Abrams, as usual, out in San Francisco fundraising. What do those guys know about us Georgians, number one? I'm so sick of these East and West Coast 1%er billionaires that have no idea what life is really like, trying to tell us how to live. And the other thing I was thinking, you ran for Congress. How does this fit in a campaign finance reform mode? I mean, I thought this stuff should be legal.
I think we really shook them. Well, there's real different rules for state fundraising. That's one thing I've learned about the federal versus state. And I guess because the state controls their own laws for state fundraising, it's a lot laxer. I will tell you that right now. But one of the things I thought was interesting is I think what rattled Stacey Abrams, who's very extreme, last week was when the numbers came out and Brian Kemp outraised her. And because we've expected from the beginning that she would have so much more money than we did to do everything, okay, because of raising money outside. And Brian outraised her, I think, by about $1.5 million. His was 95% from inside Georgia. Hers was 35% from inside Georgia. Mm-hmm. And so, and money you can equate to votes. Do you know what I mean? If a guy writes you a $100 check in Georgia, he's going to vote for you. And in fact, that guy that writes you the $25 to $100 check, he expects a lot more from you than the guy that writes the max out check. Okay, you know what I mean? Because the guy that writes the max out check probably writes them to everybody. But the guy that makes a serious discussion, he goes home and talks to his wife. He says, what can we afford to give? And then he gives $25 or $50 or $100 or $200. That guy expects a lot more from you than the guy who gives you $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, I agree because that $100 contribution could very easily be, 1/5, 20% of his weekly pay.
Yeah. That's
and
really
he's going to vote for you. He's going to vote for you.
Yeah, that's an excellent
So
point.
what we're
Tom
focusing
Steyer's
on,
not voting for Stacey Abrams.
That's right. That's right. One thing we are focusing on right now is that we have just we are touching every voter, not in a Me Too way, but we are touching every voter that voted in the presidential election in 2016, but that did not vote in the primary. Okay, we are making sure that we get a postcard, a phone call, a door knock to each of those people that we've identified that voted in 2016 for President Trump on the Republican side, but didn't vote in the primary for some reason. We are also turning over to our GOP structures that, hey, we shouldn't have to be spending any more time and resources on you. You guys should be getting out the vote because you've been with us from the beginning. We need you to help us do that. So we're working on that. And we are still encouraging them and helping them, but the bigger resources are being spent on making sure the people that got out in 2016 to vote for Donald Trump get out to vote for Brian Kemp.
Yeah, that's the complacency is always a concern in the midterm election, especially after a presidential year like Trump had. But I think Kavanaugh really did help that, and let's hope it does take everybody over the top on the Republican side. Real quick, Martha Zoller, do you think, I know we had Trump Jr. here and Kimberly Guilfoyle, my former colleague at Fox, doing some fundraising. But I'm hearing now that there's a possibility Donald Trump might make the scene in the state and do a fundraiser and a campaign speech.
Yeah, there is a possibility. We don't have a firm date yet. And as you would expect, they're not going to tell us until probably 3 days before he's coming down. And we do have some time blocked off at the end of the campaign cycle just for that, but we haven't gotten a firm confirmation. I expect he'll come. I mean, if I were a betting woman, I would say he's coming.
All right, for the listeners that are wanting to, A, learn more about Kemp, B, help out, C, attend any of the events that he's got coming up in, say, the next week and a half or so, 2 weeks, what can they do? Where can they go? How can they help?
Very simple. Vote.kempforgovernor.com. Okay, and that'll tell you all the ways that you can get involved. Vote.kempforgovernor.com. And then you can also email me directly at martha@kempforgovernor.com. And that's martha@kempforgovernor.com. And I'll be sure to help you. And if you need a speaker somewhere and you're listening in Georgia, you can reach out to me also.
That's Kemp, F-O-R, not the number 4, right? Kemp for
That's
Governor?
correct. So
Okay.
That's right. It's KEMP for F-O-R governor.com.
A lot easier to spell Kemp than it is to spell fiducia. So we can figure that one out. Vote.kempforgovernor.com. And we have like 1 minute left, Martha Zoller, really quick. I just want to run this past you. And this is so apropos, I think. We were talking earlier about Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. A lot of people have seen him on the Fox News channel.
He's from Atlanta.
Yep, he is from Atlanta. And he was out here in Carrollton a few years ago, and we had the opportunity to MC his appearance. And he said something that I wish everybody would go out and do. And like Don always says, try to do the best you can to talk to people. If you don't go to bed dog tired every night, you haven't done enough. And what he said was, try to sway 10 people. If you can just try to sway 10 people, that's all we need. And I'm glad, actually, that Kanye West is doing what he's doing because he's waking up the black community as well. But just try to sway 10 people and we should be in good shape. Martha Zoller, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. Folks, it's vote.kempforgovernor.com to find out all the latest. And we thank you for joining us, Martha. We'll have you back again, hopefully.
Thank you. I look forward to it. Thank you. It was great.
Martha Zoller and her inaugural visit here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And coming up right after the break, we'll be talking to Diamond and Silk right here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and our very special guest this next segment are Diamond and Silk. Now, I was going to actually introduce them using the Wikipedia
No,
bio.
Donna, it can't be done. No.
But I'm glad we just spoke to them before we brought them on the air, and they're like, heck no, let's read.
Well, that's not exactly what they said, Donna.
Well, that's true. But the main thing is, what I'm doing is I'm actually, you guys, reading your bio off your Facebook page, which is
Twitter feed.
President Donald J. Trump's most outspoken and loyal supporters. Yep, we knew that too. Host of the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live, vloggers, I guess that's video bloggers, public figures and speakers, internet, radio, and TV personalities. Absolutely. Diamond and Silk, welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having us.
So I kind of missed you at the Fox News Channel. You came after me because you're all over there. But this is so much fun to me because you guys say it like it is. You leave nothing to be questioned, actually. So tell us a little bit about...
Well, you can say that we are not robotic talking heads. We're truth tellers. That's what we are.
Absolutely. And you are YouTube sensations. That's how you really got started. So tell us a little bit about what made you like Donald Trump. And we want to get, obviously, to your movie that's coming out, Dummycrats, the movie. But what really attracted you to Donald Trump?
He was a truth teller. He was saying things that nobody else would say. He mentioned how he wanted to secure the border, and we thought, ain't your house secure?
Isn't it?
Isn't the White House secure? Then America House should be secure.
That's right.
And then I'm going to bring back jobs, and we thought, well, why would our government outsource our jobs and leave the American people riding dirty with no jobs? That doesn't sound right. So he's right about that. And then I want to bring back spirit. And if you look at things now, look at it. He said he will be the best job creator. If you look at now, unemployment, especially among blacks, is at an all-time low. Jobs are coming back to this country because remember what Obama told everybody. He said these jobs will never come back. So he gave people food stamps and the Obama phone.
That's right.
So you have a Coke and a smile and a nice day because the jobs ain't coming back. So now you have somebody like Donald Trump, President Trump, that comes along, a businessman. He's not a career politician. And he said, oh, these jobs are going to come back.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to be the best jobs creator. Look at the economy. Look at the economic opportunity there for people. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you can. And he's bringing back spirit. Even though people may feel uncomfortable with it because some truth has to be told. You got the left, they're uncomfortable. If you tell the truth, they want to ostracize, criticize, and stigmatize you. But we're going to bring back spirit in this country.
You're already doing it. Ladies, I am a very happily married man. I have horse crap in my boots as we speak right now. I love the two of you all.
Oh, thank you. We love you more.
I am so grateful that you are using the voice that God has given you guys. I am so grateful for that.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
We had no plans for this. We didn't even realize what was happening. The only thing we knew is this is how we felt. This is what we said. This is what we meant. We just didn't realize other people felt the same way.
Yeah.
We were sometimes speaking for other people because, when Obama was in office, everything had to be politically correct. You had to say it the right way. If you didn't, you were criticized for it. They stigmatized you. They made you a racist, homophobe, misogynist. They called you all of these nasty names and painted you back in the corner. Another thing I want people to realize that back in the day, we were lifelong Democrats.
That's right.
We were conditioned to vote that way. But we found that just because you black, it didn't mean you had to vote Democrat.
That's
and
right.
what we did, we switched our party to Republican back in 2015, September of 2015, to vote for Donald Trump. Not only did we switch our party, we knew other people felt this way, and we started something called the Ditch and Switch Now movement to push these people to the polls so that they can go out and vote for Donald Trump, and it worked.
That's right.
Let me ask you this. Your family, I mean, you guys grew up in the South much like I did. I grew up in Atlanta. You guys grew up in North Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where does your family sit politically? Are they agreeing with you? Have you shown them the light, or is Thanksgiving dinner kind of a weird moment?
Well, Thanksgiving dinner is fine, because when I went to my daddy and I said, "Daddy," I said, "I really like this Donald Trump." Mm-hmm. And so my daddy he said, "Well, wait a minute. I ain't never voted Republican before," but he kept watching him and listening to him, and he made sense. So my parents, mother and father, who were lifelong Democrats, switched their party to Republican, and they love our president.
Right.
They love the direction that he is taking this country. They love the fact that he is really working for all Americans. They're seeing things that they've never seen before up under a Republican president.
That's right.
They love it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what really gets me is a rising tide raises all boats. They sit there and they say trickle-down economics doesn't work. They attacked Reagan. I'm old enough to remember Ronald Reagan, and you know, he did so much for the economy. Donald Trump is doing better in just 2 years, and he's done it for everybody. He's done it just like he said, and the mainstream media, of which I was formerly a part of, and it's an embarrassment now. They refuse to report the real news.
That's why we call them fake news.
That's right.
You know, it used to be free press, but it's like it's controlled press, and they're trying to use that press to control the masses. And what's happening is it's not working. People are finding other sources to get their news, so they go through social media. Mm-hmm. Well, if you notice, if you look at social media now, they band it together. Well, you won't find the news on here. So if you are reporting the news and you're not reporting what they want you to report, what the mainstream media want you to report, they're going to purge your account. They're going to silence your voices. So it's all a big setup. But how did we let this happen? How did conservatives let this happen? How did Republicans let this happen, where we have everything owned by the left wing and we have absolutely nothing, and they can band together and stick together to silence voices? Mm-hmm. How did we let that happen?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And that I wanted to ask you how things are going for you two with regard to social media, because most of us, myself included, sat and watched you testify in front of Congress. And
well, you know, we're still being censored.
And can I just also say that we was not even aware that we was being watched when we was testifying before Congress. We was just there speaking our truth, talking about what was happening to us on social media. And after everything was over, that's when we realized the whole world just saw this go down, and we didn't even realize
it. We're so naive.
Well, you're unsafe to the community. It's pretty obvious.
Well, we've got a friend here in Atlanta, and I don't want to keep this segment, this interview, on the race issue. But we've got a good friend that's in the Atlanta area that's running for state senator, I think, or state house. She did try. She went up against for the U.S. Congress. She lost. But she's a beautiful black woman that's become a friend of ours over the past 3, 4, 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting with her at a wedding reception not long ago in Atlanta, and I told her, I said, let me tell you something. You are the biggest asset to the Republican Party, hands down. Not me, not Donna. You are. You're a lady, and you're a black lady.
Wow.
And
you're a conservative.
Wow.
You are the biggest asset, and I say that to you two ladies. You two ladies are the biggest asset to the Republican Party that there is. Hands down, period. You're also the biggest threat to the Democrat Party and to the government plantation.
Wow. You know what? I believe you. And listen, don't be afraid to talk about race. We need to keep talking about it until we become colorblind. We need to keep talking about it until we realize that we are one race, and that's the human race, and all of us is part of the majority because we're all Americans. We do need to talk about that, so don't shy away from that. Listen, we didn't know we was a threat until they started trying to silence us. If you look, they try to silence us. They try to downplay our role. They try to call us characters, a minstrel show. We've heard them say things like that because what they do is they want to destroy your very existence, character assassinate you when you come out and tell the truth. Look at what they're doing to Kanye West. He go up there, he talks to the president about fathers not being in the home. Jobs need to come back here. Economic opportunity, how we can start making our products here in the United States. And everybody criticize him and stigmatize him for doing that. They do these Willie Lynch tactics to try to destroy him because he's very influential among the community, among black people. And then once they've destroyed him, other black people get scared and not want to speak out or not want to walk off of what we call that Democratic plantation.
Yep. You could not be more accurate. And the thing is, we've got a host on our network that has a show. His name is Stan Levy. I went to high school with him here in Atlanta, and he's got a 2-hour show weekly called Black Man Thinkin. And he has been preaching the exact same thing, the same topics that Kanye was talking about in the Oval Office this past week. And he gets ostracized. They call him an Uncle Tom. They call him a sellout. They call him a, slave to the master and all this other crap. But the thing is, what he is a black man that's actually thinking, just like I'm a white man that's actually thinking. And
there is nothing wrong with thinking for yourself, with speaking for yourself. You know, back in 2015 when Diamond and Silk came on the scene, we told them, you can think for yourself. You don't need anybody spoon-feeding you a narrative. You can feed your own self.
That's right.
You know, we would tell them that. And the more they hate, the more we educate to let them know. We, as a race of people, can no longer vote for a system that keeps handing us crumbs. We can't vote for a system that uses us. They only use us when they need a vote. Look at Hillary Clinton and her hot sauce.
That's right.
All crooked coming in the black neighborhoods with the hot sauce and singing the old spirituals.
And Joe Biden, they're going to put you all back in chains.
Yeah, it was nauseating.
Okay, but wait, can I just get this here? Let me just say this here. Joe Biden said they're going to put you all back in chains. But how would you know, Joe? Because your party represents the party of slavery, party of KKK, the party of the Jim Crow day.
Right.
Well, for years on this radio show, I have been beating the drum saying that black Americans, my fellow Americans that happen to be black, have outlived their usefulness to the Democrat Party.
That's right.
And they
because the Democrat Party think that they have a right, a sense of entitlement, like they own black people and they own the vote. Those are the left-leaning liberals, the Democrats, and that's because they are the party of slavery. That's why they feel like they own black people. And it's time for black people to wake up and pay attention. And I'm not going to tell you to walk away. I'm going to tell you to run and run like HELL off of that Democratic plantation, switch your party to Republican, to vote for a Republican, especially in these midterm elections.
Well, and the thing is, Malcolm X said it so eloquently a couple of weeks before he was killed, and that was, if you are throwing your support behind a political party that represents 2/3 of power, and they're not doing anything for you, you're not only a political chump, but you're a traitor to your own race. And I'm paraphrasing that.
But you see how they had to take him out?
Of course.
That was too much. You can't talk like that. And I think I'm very happy that you see people speaking out. You know, I say Diamond and Silk gave people permission to speak out.
That's right.
Speak out. Because we started a revolution back in 2015 when we started telling people to get off that Democrat plantation. And now what you see, when you see people coming out now and speaking out boldly, you see the evolution. People are evolving. People are seeing this thing. You got a president now that's bringing in jobs jobs. You can pick and choose what job. You have a president that's sitting at the table and said, whoa. Okay, we're going to change this prison system. We're going to make it where when you get out of jail, you're going to be able to go back into the household. You're going to have you a good job where you can feed your family and get back into the swing of things instead of going back to prison. That's what you're going to do. When I look at Donald Trump, I see a civil rights president, somebody that cares about black people. And the reason why I say that is because you got the Al Sharptons, you got the Jesse Jacksons, you got the NAACP, the Black Congressional Caucus, and all of these other programs that's supposed to be for the advancement of black people. And the only thing they have done was have exploited, hoodwinked, and bamboozled black people. And that is the truth. The only time you see an Al Sharpton is when somebody done got killed by a white officer, because he can exploit somebody's pain and get paid for it. And I'm tired of being used by our own people. And it's call it out. It's time to call it out, because our race of people are not moving forward. We are stuck in some kind of, I don't know what, this whirlwind that we can't get out of, listening to people that claim to have our best interests in mind, and they're only worried about their own interests.
Woo! Preach it, sister.
Amen, sisters.
Hey, look, this is about the time in the interview where Donna does a reintroduction of the guest. I'm here to tell you that if anybody that's listening to this radio show doesn't realize that they are listening to the stellar Diamond and Silk, they have been in a coma since 2015. There is no need to introduce you ladies at all, because A, you need to patent just the audio that you guys exude.
Oh, my God.
Because it's absolutely nobody can do what the two of you ladies do when you're combined. It is.
Wow, that's why they call us truth
stellar.
tellers.
So we're going to say to our beloved listeners is right now you are being graced by the presence of Diamond and Silk. And I want to share with you ladies something that that Donna and I did. This would have been 2013 probably. 2013 or 2014. We were at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention in beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And there was a guy named Cash, I only remember his last name, that was running for Senate.
Against Lindsey Graham.
And they were all going up against Lindsey Graham, and they didn't have a snowball in hell's chance because they didn't have the money. But this guy's name was Cash, and I was listening to him talk, standing at his little table. And I said, I'm standing there in Wrangler jeans and a cowboy hat, and I tap him on the shoulder, and I said, I got a question for you. What is on your agenda that you are going to do to bring black South Carolinians back to the Republican Party where they belong? And he ignored me. He turned away and started talking to his little buddy again. So I tapped him on the shoulder again. And I said, wait a minute, I guess you didn't realize I was asking you a question. What is in your platform that you're going to do to bring black Americans that live in South Carolina back to the Republican Party where they belong and they can feel belonged? He ignored me a second time. Now, I'm a cowboy.
Okay.
At that point, I was getting a little irritated. He was like a burr in the saddle. So I tapped him on the shoulder again, and I said, look, man, clearly you're not going to answer my question. The answer is standing 6 feet away from you. His name is K. Carl Smith, and he's the president of the Frederick Douglass Republicans. I said, you don't have a snowball in hell's chance of winning unless you figure out a way to bring black Americans back into the Republican Party.
And I would venture to say Donald Trump has done more in 2 years than anyone. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson,
without
in the
talking
last
about
50.
Trump didn't get up there and talk about what he was going to do to unite fellow Americans, regardless of religion and skin color. He just did it.
Yep.
He just did it.
He just did it.
That's right.
And I love the fact that he has an open door policy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm glad that he bypassed all of the organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going directly to the people. I'm taking my message directly to the people. Now, I've never in my lifetime seen anything like this, you all. But I absolutely love the fact that he is president.
Yeah.
He is not a career politician. He is a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
He run it like a business. And look at how everything trickles down to where it helps Americans.
Yeah, it helps all Americans despite the color of your skin. And that's the reason why we're being featured in a movie called Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, tell us about the movie.
About the hypocrisy on the left, it is real. And what Diamond and Silk do is we show you directly what's going on. We uncover to show average American people what's been happening to these communities, these Democrat-ran communities. When you have the different congressmen and congresswomen against this president and the agenda and the Americans, we go in to show you why. Well, they want to sit on their high horse and talk about impeach 45, but when you go into their district, you see why we need to impeach them. They live in one of them live in a $4.3 million
That's Maxine
home.
Waters, right?
That's Maxine Waters.
On a $175,000 salary, she has a $4.3 million home.
Of her district, right?
Yep.
It's outside of the district she represents, but the people that she represents, supposed to represent, live in tents within her district. So what I don't understand is, how is she still being elected? We show you how people don't even know that this lady is even supposed to be over their district. People don't know. So we're waking the masses of people up and letting them see what's actually going on. So we want you to stop what you're doing right now. If you can, go to dummycrashthemovie.com, dummycrashthemovie.com to get your tickets. It's a one-night-only premiere, October the 15th. One-night-only premiere, October the 15th. Go and get your tickets, because Diamond and Silk, we're going to be bringing you the truth with the proof. We're going to be giving you the facts, and we're not holding nothing back. We're going to be giving it to you straight from the gate.
Well, and I'm also under the impression, by reading the articles about this, that after this premiere, after this one-night showing, it's going to be out on a DVD. I'm sure it's going to be all over YouTube. And we encourage all of the listeners to pick those things up.
Yeah, wake up the undecided voters. And the movie starts with, you might be offended if you're a liberal, especially if you're Robert De Niro. I love it.
What a puke.
But you got a sense of humor. See, Dinesh D'Souza, we've had him on the show. We love him. But he's very fact-based and very serious. Dummycrats the movie, and find it again at dummycratsthemovie.com. Get your tickets. You attack the left with a huge amount of personality and humor, which you guys have naturally. You're wonderful.
It was so easy to make because we're such naturals. So it wasn't us acting. It was just us being ourselves. We were able to be ourselves and do it. But I think this is something that everybody should see. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
That's right.
Whether you lean left, right, in the middle. See the movie, because right now it is up to us to hold Congress accountable. And if you're not doing right by we the people, then we the people are going to have to vote you out.
That's right.
They're going to have to understand you don't work for illegal aliens. You work for Americans. We Americans pay your salary, not illegal aliens. We pay your salary. So you're going to do what we want you to do, and if not, you're going to have to go.
All right. The elections that are coming up, midterm elections, I'm 57 years old, so I'm a lot older, I would assume, than both of you guys. You don't disclose your age.
Yeah, don't disclose your age.
All right?
Like Newsweek asked you.
In my 57 years of life, I think that this is the most critical midterm election that's coming up. Now, I think
absolutely it is. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the four of us are all going to go out, and we're going to exercise our privilege to vote, and we're going to vote Republican, and we're going to do what we need to do. And we all pray to God that we hang on to the House and the Senate. Now, let me ask you guys this. What do you think will happen in those elections, and how devastating will it be if we lose the House?
I don't even want to think. You want to think. You know what? You never get what you want, but you always get what you think and feel. So I'm going to think a red tsunami. That's what I'm going to think. I cannot imagine it flipping. And the reason why, when we see what just happened to Kavanaugh, what happened with Kanye West, all of the stuff, the violence that's going on in the streets, how you have people, high-profile people telling you to go out and commit violence against their fellow Americans. Oh, you need to be voting red, vote right, and vote Republican. That should tell you. So I can't even imagine it going the other way. I am going to focus on everything turning red. And I want to urge everybody, go to the polls. Go vote. Your vote is your voice. Your voice is your power. You're going to have to use it, but you're going to have to vote red. When you look at the trajectory of our country and how these left-leaning liberals are trying to change everything, they're going to make you guilty, and you got to figure out how to prove yourself guilty. I mean, how to prove yourself innocent. They're going to take and they want to rewrite the Constitution when they need to take and reread the Constitution. Look at the things that they're trying to do in our country. When you see that, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, you need to go vote red and vote Republican.
And see Dummycrats the movie by going to dummycratsthemovie.com. Hashtag walk away is the real big thing that you're trying to say in that movie, and we love you for it. Diamond and Silk on a mission to expose the left. Huge Trump supporters, huge video bloggers. You've seen them on all the news channels. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And we'll be looking for Dummycrats the movie at dummycratsthemovie.com.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Our pleasure.
I feel like passing an offering plate around right now because this has been an angelic moment for me, ladies. Thank you. Donna, we got to take it home.
And that pretty much wraps up the show at cowboylogic.us. We'll see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And in the meantime, God bless America.
Out on the web at cowboylogic.us.